So greetings, friends and followers. This is Nurses Talking. I am Del Barcy. As always, if you like what you see and hear, subscribe, leave us a comment. We'd love to know what you think. Today, my guest is Natasha Jackson. Natasha is a mom, she's a registered nurse, she's an entrepreneur with a passion for helping others, improving the health of our communities. So welcome, Natasha.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you for doing this. Thank you so very much
Mhm.
for doing this. I appreciate it. I think that we need to speak up, let our voices be heard, let it be known what we are, who we are, and what we can do.
Yes,
So,
yes, I agree with that as well. And so, I'm glad that, you invited me. I'm just starting my business as well. And so, I figured as much as I can talk about it, that helps me. And then I'm still able to help others, with the service that I'm providing. So I am a hospice nurse.
okay.
I've been a nurse for 20 years
Yeah.
and a single mom, like you said. And so I was getting tired of really just working really hard for other people. And I was like, I'm almost 50 and I want to not have to work so hard. So, before I started, I was working, 6 12-hour shifts per week. And I was like, you know what, I need to find something. So I found chronic care management, which is a program that's offered by Medicare to patients that have 2 or more chronic conditions and they're 65 years old, okay, or
Mm-hmm.
older. And so I really loved that because I was like, a lot of older people, they don't have that help to help coordinate, well, how many doctor's appointments I have, how many different medication changes, what's going on with my body. And
Yeah.
they don't know that. And me, because I've been a nurse for so long, I was like, our communities need this. So
Yeah.
I need to do this. And so I did my research and got started, and I'm trying to collaborate with more physicians, so we can contract and get this service out to their patients that really need it, especially minority communities,
Exactly.
because they're the ones that suffer the most with all of these chronic conditions. My mom has diabetes and heart disease. My
Mm-hmm.
dad, he's had a stroke, so it's stuff that I am used to dealing with as well. So
Exactly.
because Medicare is now paying for this service, as like, okay, let's, get out there and let's offer this. And then I also want to teach other nurses how to do this because it's easy, because this is what we do as nurses. We're
Yeah.
constantly following up with appointments, and all of that. So that's how I got started. And so that is what my business kind of focuses on, improving just the health of our communities, and having providers that look like myself, whether it's a nurse or a doctor, to help our communities, because sometimes it's difficult, to communicate with someone who's not necessarily understanding what we are
Yeah.
dealing with or going through. So
Yeah.
I felt it was important, and I stepped out on faith, and so far God has truly, helped me, so much. I can only, give him
Mhm.
that praise because, I've been able to meet with some other chronic care management nurses that have been doing this for a while. And so
Yeah.
they've been able to support me and educate
And
me,
yeah.
so we
Yeah.
can still better educate our communities and other
Yeah.
nurses as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I do.
That's truly important, and I'm glad you mentioned that. It's important that in dealing with our communities, we need to have people who look like us, because
Mhm.
very often our people end up in doctors' offices and kind of just brushed off. Well, this is part of your thing because of this is who you are, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's not necessarily true, but okay.
Hmm. Yes.
So what drew you to nursing in the first place, anyway?
Oh wow. So what drew me to nursing? So I was not drawn to nursing. I really wasn't. My ex-husband, he was in the military, and so we lived in Panama City, Florida at the time, so it's pretty small. And so he was about to get out of the military, and he, suggested, that I do a 1-year LPN course. that they had there. So I was like, not so much, but then I was like, okay, I'll do it. I'll do it. Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so, I did it. I was scared, of course, because my thing was I don't really talk to a lot of people. I was a bit shy. So I was like, oh my gosh, I have to go and just speak with people. And, so I think that was one of my biggest fears, you know, and so now, after all these years, with that being my biggest fear, I think, maybe God was like pushing me and saying, hey, this is not really what you're afraid of, and this is what you were meant to do. And so I now work as a hospice liaison. And so I go in and I speak with people that I've, never met, and I have to educate them on one of the most difficult topics that anyone,
Yeah.
has to talk about. So, I see, where God has pushed me and said, no, you're not afraid to talk to people, and so I'm just getting comfortable with that, and so working as a liaison has certainly helped me with that. And then now as a chronic care manager, and now business owner, and then teacher, and all those roles that I
Yeah.
have to fulfill now, this is what I'm doing. I'm speaking. And so I guess maybe that's part of my purpose. And, so that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, look at that journey, yeah.
Yes, yes.
So listen, you said you weren't drawn to nursing. So if you were not a nurse, what would you be?
I was going to go into law,
Okay.
so I had
Another
worked in
speaking thing, huh?
yeah, I guess. So, so that's what I was thinking I wanted to do before becoming a nurse. But it's, I think it's for me. I love being a nurse.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, certainly.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
get there. We get there. We get there.
Mhm.
So having not been going back to this not being drawn to nursing thing,
Mhm. Mhm.
what were some of the challenges for you? Because I know this can be very challenging.
I think really the only challenge I had was having to go speak to people.
Okay.
But as a clinical nurse, skills and just learning, I was always open to learning. I'm
Yeah.
still open to learning,
Mm-hmm.
so I think that helped me. I always wanted to know, okay, well, I never heard about this condition, let me look it up.
Okay.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I try to stay, you know on top of
One step
my
up.
learning and
Mm-hmm.
all of that.
Yeah.
So I think that was always really the only challenge for me, was really that communication aspect. Besides that, I think everything else was, it came pretty easy for me. So, I'm happy for
Good.
that.
Good. So what is the thing though that drew you to hospice?
Hospice just kind of happened for me. I was working at a nursing home,
Okay.
and so someone bought the nursing home, but they were not telling us, well, okay, what they're doing,
Mm,
and I'm like, I need to get a second job. And so I started hospice as a crisis care nurse, which is where, I worked with patients in their homes at the
mhm.
end of life, and supported the families and stuff. And so, so that's how I started with it. Just, okay, I'll try this, and I've been doing it for the past 5 or 6 years, and I really love it.
Yeah.
So that nursing home ended up just shutting down, and
Oh,
a lot
wow.
of people ended up losing their jobs and stuff. So it just happened like that for me, you know. And thank God, and yeah,
Oh,
he places
wow.
me where I need to be.
These
He
paths,
really does.
the thing is like that, what you're telling me is that you're
Mhm.
really open to these paths as they open up to you.
They are. They really, I actually had moved to Florida probably about 2 years ago. Um, my family's in New York, but then when I had gotten married, I moved to Florida. And so after I was done, got my RN, I was like, I'm gonna move back to Florida, and do
Mhm.
something different. And I went there and I worked as a unit manager and an assistant director of nursing, which was like all the roles that I wanted to do when I worked as an LPN,
Mhm.
but then it was so much. It was constant,
It
I
never
was like an
ends.
ADON and a risk manager, and I'm getting called at late at night,
At night, yeah.
and so then COVID happened, of course, and then my family's here. I'm like, I don't know how I feel about it. And then I don't know what even happened. And I got a call from one of my old managers that they had this position as a hospice liaison, and she recommended me. I was like, oh, okay. And so and then I got another call, with a good job offer here. And so I came back, and so God just really places me where I need to be, is what I say, and so that's kind of how those things happen. And I came back here, and was
Yeah,
able to do all those things.
yeah, that is kind of like how those things happen.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
you've been a nurse for a while.
Hmm.
Any aspects of nursing life you think you'd like to see change?
Oh, wow. What aspects of nursing life? I'd like to see nurses paid more. I'd like to see nurses shown more respect, especially minority nurses, because I know personally me,
Oh yeah.
like I put in 101% or 110%, and I never got that recognition. Not that I was looking for recognition, but hey,
But you
you're
should get
doing a
it.
great job. But like, it was always either what I brought to the table, and it was too much, or they didn't like how I brought it to the table, or something, so yeah, I'd like to see that change. I like us to get more credit for the work that we do, and more respect and more money, of course,
Yeah, yeah. Those two
so.
kind of
Mhm.
go hand in hand.
Mhm.
And if we got the respect, I think maybe the money would follow, but more important than the money probably is the acknowledgement that
Mhm. Yeah. Yep.
that the whole system would fall apart if it
Mhm.
weren't there.
Yeah. Exactly. You know.
Uh, anyway,
Mhm.
so what advice then? Because
Mhm.
I think you're a great person to give advice to someone who wants to be a nurse, you didn't want to be in the first place. Because people who wanted to be, they're like, just go for it. But you didn't want to be. And
Right.
here you are, you're a nurse now and you enjoy it. So what advice would you give to someone who wants to be a nurse?
What advice would I give to someone who wants to be a nurse? It's not hard. It's not easy. I mean, it's
Not
not
easy.
easy being a nurse, but it's very rewarding, not only financially, but, I think just spiritually, just being able to care for someone, it's really rewarding. So, if you're, someone who's caring and nurturing, I think that, and you want to become a nurse, certainly, go into it. It makes you stronger, definitely, so yeah, I guess, that would be my advice, I guess, just, you know, I don't even know.
So the other question that I want to ask you, and I asked this of all nurses actually, because we're now talking about, I mean, burnout was always a thing. I don't think it's a new thing.
Right.
But it's a big thing now. I
Mhm.
think supposedly the pandemic as well just shed light on just how much is expected,
Yeah.
and how much we have to go over and above. And there's
Mhm.
so much talk about burnout and people leaving and all of this. And we tend to care for everybody else except ourselves.
Mhm.
So my question to you and to nurses is, what does self-care mean to you?
What does self-care mean to me? Well, self-care means, for me to be at peace, I guess, within myself, like when, not just when I go to work, because I don't want to go to an environment that messes with my peace.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So I
mm-hmm.
wanna go into work with that peace. So self-care to me is, just maintaining my peace, like, and trying to avoid negativity as much as possible, taking time for me, doing the things that I like to do. I love reading, I love dancing, and listening to music. I love cooking too, so doing those things for me is part of self-care, and I need those things. or else I don't know. I don't know,
You'll
so
implode. You'll implode.
yes, and I think for me, prayer, I'm not like, I don't go to church and all of that, but I'm a spiritual person, and I believe in God, so prayer as well, is part of my self-care, and giving thanks for all that I've been receiving and I'm receiving now. So that's self-care for me. So yeah.
Okay, good. I like that kind of self-care, actually, because it tells me that for you, that's a daily thing. It's not
Yeah.
a weekly or monthly or when I remember thing.
Yes.
It's a daily
Yes,
thing.
every
I think
day.
that's extremely important. It has to be a daily thing.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. And I want to know how nurses see nurses. I want to know what do you recognize in another nurse? So what do you think? If you had to talk about what is the most essential quality of a nurse, if you had to describe that in just one word, what would that word be?
Compassion.
Compassion. Okay. That's a word that comes up fairly frequently.
Yeah. You have to care. You have to care, like, you have to care. You're dealing with people, and you may not know that person, but someone else knows and loves that person. So I think compassion and caring for me, yeah.
Do you think, as you said, compassion, something has occurred to me that do you think we get too emotionally involved?
I think that as humans, we're gonna have emotions, and as females, we're emotional. I think like it depends on the setting, right? Like in long-term care, you've been with that person for a while,
You know
years,
them. Mhm.
yeah, so then certainly being emotional, you're gonna get emotional. And then sometimes there's still patients that you might meet one time and you just have that connection with them, because I've had that happen as well.
Yeah.
And you feel emotional. And for me, I am I'm a crier. I'm a just cry. I'll be like, oh my gosh, why am I crying? What am I crying about now? I just kind of just go with the flow, but I try not to bring it home. Certainly, I don't, I separate that, and still just give thanks for the joy that I do have in my home,
In your home.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think kind of like that's maybe why I asked that, because sometimes it's hard to leave it where it is. It's hard to compartmentalize and just leave it there.
Yeah.
So, I think that's why I asked that, because you can become so wrapped up in it. And then listen, when you get home, that's not what the people at home need.
Right. Yes.
Natasha, I want to thank you so much for this conversation. Really, I enjoyed it, every minute of it.
Thank you. I enjoyed it as well.